right. Got Alfonso Brown, King in here. Peace. And peace. What's going on out there with y'all today? Not talking to you. Sincere born Asiatic. Peace to the God. So, y'all see that title to the video? How do y'all see the significance of that? Oh, all right, that's peace, Jack King. Hey, Jack King, how close are you to Tennessee? There was an earth that she was in the comments saying she's from Tennessee. She's trying to get a hold of the 1 in 10 student enrollment. But also dealing with my question, how do y'all see the difference between renewing history and repeating history? Technology. Got the room filling up. The question to the room right now is how does everybody see that? The difference between renewing history and repeating history. Peace, wise you. Wise you said God is renewing his history daily. Nobody else? Nobody else sees a distinction between renewing history and repeating history? King said renewing history is living out one's own created plan, while repeating history is doing what's already expected from experience. That's peace. I see Alfonso Brown says, I see renewing would be building upon knowledge versus repeating being not building upon accumulated facts. That's peace too. To kind of sum up what y'all saying, see, renewing history is when you take the best part. See, repeating is when you just do it over. You understand what I'm saying? Like the brother said right here, when you look at the experience and the facts, when you look at the experience and the facts of what you was dealing with, right? And you take the best part of that, and then you apply that to what you're gonna live. Now you take control of it instead of just repeating it. Like certain people is just caught up in cycles that they can't control. You know, some of the cycles is in their own life. Some of the cycles is in generations of their family that they caught up, and they just repeating that history over and over. See, when you renew history, you may take a characteristic, right, that, you know, before that might have caused you to do something negative. But when you renew that, you may take that same characteristic and apply it in a positive way. You know what I'm saying? Or you may, you know, some place where you may have had some type of negative influence, and then you go back and have a positive influence. You're not repeating the history. You know, in terms of the words, some might look at that as semantics. You see what I'm saying? But in terms of the idea, that's why it says we renew history every 25,000 years. And what's the third line in that degree? See what I'm saying? So if you have if your goal is to be all wise and right and exact, then you're going to take the best part, which is the understanding. And apply that to how you live with your plan. Now you can predict what happens instead of just being caught up in the cycles. Sincere Born Asiatic said, I wasn't dealing with the knowledge for a while, so I needed to renew my history from the beginning to knowledge everything I forgot. Repeating, I see as brushing up on your history. Yeah, now, see, this is what you hit on something that, applies here too. You know, like a lot of brothers, right? You ask them, if they know their lessons, they say, I got to renew my history, or I'm renewing my history. But see, after a certain amount of times you telling me that, right? You repeating. That's not renewing. Because every day you don't know your lessons like you didn't the day before and the day before and the day before and the day before. Now you repeating. You're not really renewing. You haven't learned the lesson, whatever it was that you would have learned, that okay, now I know I need to stay on point with my lessons. You didn't really learn that. And you didn't start applying that to your everyday life. You know, and some brothers say they renewing their history for years. So then you end up, that's really just repeating. Jack King said, Tennessee is approximately 4 hours from him. All right, so it's maybe 2 hours from our Earth in Alabama, and maybe an hour and a half from Lord Devon in Huntsville, Decatur. Yeah, that's peace. Hopefully she'll come on live and we'll be able to get that information to her. Manola Music and Films, peace. Born Magnetic, peace. Oh, the guy is Born Magnetic. Is he in Tennessee? But like I was saying though, is that's the difference between renewing history and repeating it. You know, just blindly going through the same motions over and over and not really applying none of the lessons that you learn to how you gonna continue to deal with whatever cipher you're dealing with. Oh, Birmingham is Beham. But yeah, that's Alabama. All right. State of the art. That's the law will manifest. The law will manifest. Said today's math is knowledge add on cipher. We've been repeating the history of the said nations for too long. We've been repeating our mistakes in dealing with the said nations for too long. You know, like sometimes we kind of welcome oppression by making the same mistakes over and over. See, like I said, you know, positive elevation, always correcting errors, that's a part of righteousness. But see, stagnation, that's something different. And stagnation is what you reach when, you know, you're not learning nothing from what you're doing. Once you come to that point where you can't learn anymore, it's over for you. You're done. I don't know why you're breathing air. Somebody else needs it. Who else we got in the room? We got a lot of people being Masonic tonight. Law will manifest. We ain't see you Tuesday either, man. How you been coming with your lessons, man? Jigga 1017, peace. I was just dealing with the science of renewing history versus repeating history, and asking the brothers how they see that. Jigga 1017. I'm saying you've been studying your lessons though, Allah will manifest. Alright, that's peace, Allah will manifest. Gotta stay on point every day. But yeah, though, Jigga 1017, I was just telling the brothers, man, that the difference between renewing history and repeating history is, the lessons that you learning. You understand what I'm saying? See, because that's dealing with, like I said, if your knowledge is adding a cipher, or did you just go in a circle, you just going in circles and circles and circles. Well, Allah will manifest. Oh, you went to Sunya's class this week. That's peace. As long as you stay building. You came in tune with the other brother up there in Poughkeepsie that wanted to come in tune with you. Allah will manifest. You know who I wish comes in here tonight? Blairlin Snotty. He asked an interesting question. Jigga 1017 said renewing history is exploring new ways to expand your understanding versus regurgitating what you were given and what you've been giving. It's peace. State of the art. Law will manifest. Alright, that's peace. You came in tune with the brother. So now you got somebody. Now you got somebody up there, man. Y'all could bounce off each other. See what I mean? And see, just y'all speaking. If y'all come together and build, just y'all speaking, people gonna hear the word. And for some people, that's gonna spark something in them. For the people that something's in them. Alfonso Brown said a lot of guys in here from Poughkeepsie got me missing home. Yeah. Poughkeepsie and North Carolina. And North Carolina is always strong in here. Alabama is strong in here. See, a lot of this, it applies to, the future of how we building everything that we doing. Within the nation, and as, us being a part of the greater society. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of times I speak on what I think is solutions to condition of the original people right now, you know what I'm saying, to bring about freedom, justice, and equality. A lot of what I speak on. So when you look at that, right, and you look at all the lessons that, that's why, we, for me at least, that's why I deal with a lot of history, because it's a lot of lessons in there that I can apply to what I'm doing right now. Because everything that we doing, right, for each person that comes into the class, right, let's say every week, every 2 weeks, every month, right, a person comes into the class, this knowledge is brand new to them. This knowledge is brand new to them. And then I renew my history every time I go through that. So like a lot of these, things that I've, dealt with over time, I renew my history every time new people come in. I got to go through that all over again. Not that I go through it like it's a burden, but just saying that, doing that, that's what keeps me sharp. All right, now Alfonso Brown asked a question. How does the 25,000 relate to the Holy Quran? I mean, what do you, I mean, like I was saying the other day, you gotta remember that these books, the Bible, the Quran, the Book of Life, 120 Lessons, the Bhagavad Gita, whatever book, you pick, these books are about man himself. You know what I mean? It's about the history of man. And we saying that that's based on the circumference of the planet Earth. Like that's where the history is lived out at. When you want to find the history of something that happens, right? Like if they say, yo, this thing was happening, 2,500 years ago, when they do archaeology, they dig in the earth. You know what I mean? You look at the earth for the history of, how man lived out his ideas at different times on the planet. And the earth is 24,896 miles in circumference, approximately 25,000 miles. God Cypher Divine just came in. But was that your question, Alfonso Brown? But like I was saying, when we thinking about the different solutions, Al-Kim Salam, peace. When we thinking about the different solutions that we have, how much are we repeating and how much are we renewing a lot of times? See, because that's a Motherland Gardens. That's a certain definition of insanity right there. Is to keep doing the same thing and expecting a different outcome. We got quite a few Masons in here tonight. Alfonso Brown, is that the question you was asking? I know what I gotta do. I gotta get a phone so people can call me, and then I can kill some of this lag time. See, once I get a phone though, then I'm gonna make a show though, but I don't have a name for it. Somebody give me a name. Somebody give me a name for a show. Yeah, God Cipher Divine. Apparently, he saw the same thing definition I saw. That is, that's a certain definition of insanity, doing the same thing and expecting a different outcome. But see, you got to think like that every day. You know what I'm saying? Like, see, a lot of people, y'all in places where it might be, one, you by yourself in that town, or it's one or two people, you know what I'm saying? Or you trying to affect people in your family, or you trying to, take it to a higher level and affect something in your community or, around the world. You know what I'm saying? How you gonna, when you actually come up with a plan, like when you look at supreme mathematics, we say that's the blueprint to the universe. So you can use that blueprint and apply it to whatever you're doing. You know what I'm saying? But that's why, when you deal with living mathematics, you gotta renew the history because, see, like I said, when you go from knowledge to born, right? And then you go to knowledge out of cipher, you don't go back to knowledge. You go to knowledge. You see what I mean? Which shows that you already been through that cipher. So if a person keep going through ciphers, even physically, a person get to understand the cipher, but they still acting like they knowledge out of cipher. They not showing that they learn. That's what they saying. They not showing that they learn for each of those. So you just go on in circles. So we go out there to affect the community. That's what's important about knowing where we came from. Yeah, Born Magnetic said all this history and interpretation transpired within the bounds of the planet's circumference. Born you truth, all of the above is caused by the Son of Man. Exactly. See, renewing the history, I don't know if you was listening when I was saying, but see, renewing the history, that's what allowed you to write the history and not just be a part of the history, just present in it. Because now you've learned certain lessons, and now when you go to deal with that cipher again, now you're the one that's predicting what's happening. Instead of somebody just swallowing you up in their idea. Alfonso Brown said, I must not have a clear understanding of the definition of renewing history. How is it shown and proven that history is renewed every 25,000 years, a year to every mile? Okay. Well, one way is with the science of astronomy. You know what I'm saying? Like time is all a series of cycles. You know what I'm saying? And uh, it's something called the progression of constellations. Actually, I'm not sure about that name, but what I'm saying is this. When at sunrise, there's a certain constellation, right? Of the 12 constellations that they have for each month, there's a constellation that's on the horizon, but it's there for 2,000 years and a little bit of change. Now, everybody check those numbers for me, right? Uh, so, uh, each one is there, like I said, for 2,000 years and some change. And when you multiply that by the 12 of them, you get 25,000 years. All right, Darkim, he gave me the name for it. He added on. It's called the Great Year. If you want to research it, you know what I'm saying. But that is one of the cycles. That is one of the cycles that the planet goes through, dealing with measurement of time. You know what I'm saying? So like when you hear people talking about the age of Aquarius and the when they was making bulls out of everything, the sign was Taurus. Or when they say Jesus was a fish, the sign was Pisces. You know what I'm saying? That's one of the things they said about the I'll leave that out of it because I just heard that. Supreme Man Allah. It's my supreme man, peace to the God. Jigga 1017 said repeating history is going to H&R Block every year for the child tax credit. Renewing history is creating a business, hitting up an accountant, employing folks, and taking advantage of biz tax benefits. Yeah, it's learning. It's learning. And then being able to apply that. You know what I mean? Because some people learn and then they still repeat the history. Like mostly anybody that's messing up, right? If you ask them, they know where they messed up. They know exactly what they wasn't supposed to be doing. You see what I'm saying? But because they didn't base the rest of their actions, they based it on some emotion or whatever. They didn't base it on the knowledge that they gained. They end up just repeating the history. Yeah, see, God Cypher Divine said, I know mad brothers in my hood who are physically culture Cypher, but mentally knowledge Cypher. You see what I'm saying? Because they every time they going through, they not adding Cypher. They just in the Cypher. They knowledge in the Cypher. And just being subject to it. So Alfonso Brown, is that what you was talking about? You went to the Great Year? Does that clear it up for you? No, Alfonso Brown, precession of the equinox is something different. The precession of the equinox is dealing with the seasons, where you have the vernal equinox and the autumnal equinox. And then you have the summer solstice and the winter solstice. Golden Arms, peace. But that's the cycle. Yeah, Supreme Man said, I was taught if you don't improve yourself, you ain't one of us. That's yeah, that's what the brother told me. He said, look, if if the knowledge don't bring about no change in you for the better, you might as well leave it alone. You know what I'm saying? You're not one of us. If you can't, look at it and see, and that's with anything in life. If you're dealing with that and you can't see, what you getting out of that, what you dealing with it for. You know what I'm saying? That's clearly something that you just caught up in a cycle. And you just, you just repeating. You caught up in somebody else's idea. See, that's the thing. What happens when you just knowledge a cipher? When you knowledge a cipher, right? Then that cipher already existed, and that means it came from somebody else's knowledge that went to born, and now you just subject to their idea. See, if you don't have a strong enough determined idea for yourself, right? There's people out there who have a determined idea that they need soldiers. And you'll get caught up in their determined idea and living out what they want you to do. Or living out what they want to do, what they want done, but they don't want to do, you will be the one to do it. Forever Allah, peace. You understand what I'm saying? See, that's what easily happens to people right here in the wilderness of North America. When you ain't renewing your history, right? You ain't going through your lessons, you're not building, you're not teaching. You understand what I mean? Then what's happening? You out there getting caught up in the wilderness of North America. You getting caught up in the determined idea. You getting caught up in the determined idea that Yaqub passed on to the devil. Because your own idea is not strong enough. So, for me, right? I was born in the 85% world. Now, a lot of things that I learned in the 85% world, right, that I applied to being at 85%, when I got the knowledge, now I renewed that history and I applied it in a positive way. See, I already knew one is first, but I didn't know how it applied to knowledge. I didn't know how it applied to the whole, order of the universe. I just saw it as arithmetic, that, it's, I got to go to school to deal with this. Yeah, see, Supreme Man just hit an understanding right here, to show brothers just an example of how you can apply these lessons in all different ways. See, Supreme Man said the captain is the 5%, the lieutenant is the 10%, and the private soldier is the 85%. See, when you expand, that the lessons that's in that degree out to society, and you look at, okay, who's giving the orders, who's making the decisions that's affecting everybody, and who's just waking up every day and just soldiering on, do whatever the people is, you know what I'm saying? And then you got that, what they call the management class in society. You know what I'm saying? You know, in the black society, you know, we got a lot of them. People that's there to manage us and kind of let us know what our opinions on everything should be and who we should support. Jack King said, I have to do the knowledge myself. I recall someone stating that's why Musa was mad. They were building calves, but that wasn't the right age. Yeah, that's probably why he was mad they was building calves. Because they was caught up in the wrong age. Well, as you said, look at the clock. Seconds hand equal moon cycles. Minutes hand equals solar cycles, and hour hand equals great year. I see what he's saying in terms of uh, the analogy. The second hand is a faster cycle, like the moon cycle is a faster cycle than the solar cycle. And the minutes hand, the hour hand or the minutes hand is a faster cycle than the hour hand. But you gotta, when you build like that, when you take it to that high level like that, wise you gotta break it down, man. But I see what you're saying. Born king, peace to the gods. Divine Son, if the history is not renewed, it can't be preserved, condemning you to repeat or be caught in a loop, never adding on to that body of accumulated facts. Yeah. You know, that was kind of, you know, a lot of things that I see in society right now where it seems like people want to whitewash a lot of the history. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, they don't want it to be known that certain things happen. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, you know, well, if we don't know that happened, you know, like if we take down all these statues and, you know, we forget about that history, right? Then, because here's the thing, it would be one thing if our condition, right, was improved. It would be one thing if you're saying that it was a full change within society where, you know, just like, you know, a person, you might have grew up very poor, right? And then, you know, you went to college, you got a great job now, you know, so, you know, now you can let that go. You can let that go. But if we still dealing with a certain amount of oppression, we haven't got freedom, justice, and equality, right? Then how are we forgetting where we came from, right? To know what our ultimate goal is. Because remember, that was, you know, that's a part of the whole science of us being over here. You know what I'm saying? And them being able to control us over here is us not knowing where we came from, us not knowing our history, and us not knowing who we are. You understand what I'm saying? That's what caused a certain amount of what they call it, helplessness. A certain amount of helplessness because, like I said, now you don't, you have no way to predict your future. So now you powerless. You're not writing your own history. You just caught up in somebody else's cycle. You just another person to be right there. And then when something happened to you, when they use you up and they determine idea, then some other person just step right in and repeat that cycle. The law will manifest said other than himself. Yeah, see, Supreme Man, he said, realistically, you should renew your history every 25 days because a day to Allah is a year. If you in dire straits, every 25 hours. You know, and that also coincides with what the brother was saying in terms of, when you deal with the lunar cycle, you know what I'm saying? That's approximately 25 days. You know what I'm saying? When you deal with a day, you know what I'm saying? That's approximately 25 hours. You know what I'm saying? So all of those times, anytime you see a cycle, you supposed to renew your history. So like the guy said, every day, right? You supposed to renew your history. You go through today's degree, right? Then the next day you go through that day's degree. Now look, if you building, right, every day, then look, approximately every 25 days, you went through at least most of your lessons. You understand what I'm saying? If you really a builder and, you dealing with how mathematics born, you get into those lessons too. But you're going to renew that all the time. But now, if for some reason, get into what the God is saying, if you in dire straits, if for some reason you in a position where, look, you wasn't able to go through it in that time and renew it in a natural way, you should do that. You should take it upon yourself and make it your business to do at least that, so that you don't reach a point where you saying, I got to renew my history when people ask you, what's the lesson? And then you saying, I got to renew my history. You see what I'm saying? What the God is saying is that history is supposed to be constantly being renewed regardless. You see what I mean? And that's why I said, if a person tell you, I'm renewing my history today, and then you see them next week, and they renewing their history, you see them next week, and see, no, you're not renewing now, you're repeating. You're telling me the same thing over and over and over and over. Jah King said, exactly my stance on the removal of the statues. In Mobile, Alabama, majority of our streets are named after the ones without statues. Yeah, so see, Jah King, he hit a point in my head. He hit a point that I was saying, and it's good that you on here because you actually from the place where a lot of these statues is up and where they doing a lot of the protesting and everything. But yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like, it's so many things, like, at the end of the day, right? Why we got a dollar bill in our pocket? You understand what I'm saying? For that matter, George Washington was a slave owner. If we just dealing with this kind of cancel culture kind of thing, you understand what I mean? I don't think, erasing that history, especially because it's, they continuing daily with that history. This idea that everything was 100 years ago, or the civil rights era, like, no, you continuing daily, man. Like if you look at any person that's out there right now, right, that they dealing with, issues about original people in America and freedom, justice, and equality, right? And you listen to them right now in 2020, and you go back to a speech in, 1962 of Martin Luther King or Malcolm X or any other speaker. It's the same exact issues they complaining about. It's the same exact issues. You see what I'm saying? So they continuing daily. So if they continuing daily, why we taking it down like that's over now? You know what I'm saying? Like we taking it down like it's Christmas lights and Christmas is over now. Nah. That's not how, at least how I see it. Supreme scientist says, should all history be renewed? Well, maybe you missed the beginning of what I'm saying. Is that no, everything you did shouldn't be repeated. See, renewing is when you learn from the ciphers that you've been through, and you show and prove that your knowledge added a cipher, right? And then you go to knowledge. You don't go back to knowledge. See, if you go back to knowledge, then your knowledge didn't really add a cipher. You didn't deal with living mathematics. That's the principles of it. You got the principles down pat, but you had to go back to the beginning. Alfonso Brown said the devil erased a great deal of the original man's history for the exact purpose of rewriting it for the masses in his favor. Exactly. You see what I'm saying? See, that's a whole other aspect that you and Supreme Man has been hitting on. You know what I'm saying? That renewing history is not just about staying on point with your lessons, or say you keeping, but it's about preserving the history. It's about the actual story of the triumphs and the mistakes, the trials, the tribulations, you know what I'm saying? Everything that happens on the planet Earth when God and the devil come together. You understand what I'm saying? Renewing that is also keeping that preserved. You know what I mean? So, just to give an example, in a family, you know what I'm saying, when your parents tell you stories of their grandparents, or you go around your grandparents and they tell you stories of their grandparents. You understand what I'm saying? So that you keep that history renewed and y'all know who y'all are. You see what I mean? And so then now you know what to do and what not to do. Now you got control on writing the history that you're gonna live. You understand what I mean? Instead of just being in the same cycles over and over and over. Born King said James Breasted. Who's James Breasted? Supreme Man said they say post-traumatic slave syndrome can be passed down genetically. Then so can racism, elitism, and every other ism. Exactly. And that's another thing that adds on with the science of those statues, is that those statues have already done their job of making certain people heroes. That's what those statues was put up there for, was to make certain people heroes and rewrite the history of the South in the Civil War. The Klan and all of that. That was to rewrite that history. But now these people are already, the mentality has already been born in the people. So like Supreme Man said, it's already being passed down. Alfonso Brown said isms are learned behavior. But isn't an ism? An ism is more like a learned idea, though. But I mean, the ideas, of course, bring about behavior. So I guess you can't have one without two. Born King said Breasted was a Caucasian who altered history books, saying that whites were the great race in the early 20th century. Oh, all right. And where he was from, England or America? You know, they had a lot of guys like this, man. Especially the people that were affiliated with museums were some of the worst. And you know, they actually destroyed a lot of things to fit in with this kind of theory that that this breasted guy was advocating. Because you had some guys like in the early 1800s. You know, you also had Winston Churchill. You know, you had a couple of writers, you know, and historians that you know, they already Darwinism was first a social idea that got applied to life science. So the idea that according to them, you know, white civilization was far more advanced than any civilization that the original man had. You know, their conclusion was therefore whites were the great race. See, if like even if you look at the when they show you the science of the evolution, right? You know, even when we deal with the science of the square, see, we perpendicular. We stand straight up. You understand what I'm saying? And different animals, they bent over. You understand what I'm saying? And as they showing you that chart, they show you the, you know, different creatures that man is evolving through until he's upright. But by the time he's upright, he's white. Born King said Breasted was American but studied in Germany. Rockefeller paid him money to change the book so he could become head of the Oriental School in Chicago. Is that the same what's the Oriental School? Is that connected with the what's that college? It's a college out there in Chicago where a lot of Rockefeller stuff happened. But yeah, I know about Rockefeller being involved with a lot of misinformation in the education system. If you remember when you watched Sesame Street back in the days, it was always sponsored by the Rockefeller Foundation and the Carnegie Mellon Foundation. And they got a lot to do with controlling what we learn in the education system. God Cypher Devon said the people who were affiliated with museums had ulterior motives, rewriting history to facilitate his own agenda, spreading lies and causing trouble amongst the righteous. So yeah, Born King said, yeah, that it is the Chicago University that I'm thinking of. That they did some. Is this the same Chicago University that they do a whole bunch of economic stuff? Like they came up with some funny economics, and they go and apply it in different countries and steal all their money. But yeah, God Cipher Divine, getting back to the people in the museums that you were saying, they also, some of it was just competition. I found out that some of it would just be like, look, when they go on an expedition, they only got a certain amount of money, or they got a certain season that uh, that they could, you know, that they can be out there, and then they got to go back home, and that sometimes they would just destroy stuff so the next person that was coming wouldn't find it. They got stuff that they brought back and hid in all museums, all over Europe, because it didn't fit in with their story of who was the master race. Divine Son said, Darwinism is a religion. Wouldn't doubt it. Breasted was an Egyptologist. Yeah. That's one thing I always, I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but I always notice that anytime you deal with those Kemetic brothers, right, they never say that they Egyptologists, and I wonder if they see that the same way as me, is that it appears that Egyptologists, for the most part, are French and British. It's only one guy I saw that was an Arab that said he was an Egyptologist, but that pretty much appears to be the job of an Egyptologist, is to distort the history so that it fits into the European timeline. You see, a lot of those other empires, right, like say Nubia, right, or Ethiopia, see, the European cannot place himself there, so he can't say that he was any part of that greatness. You see what I'm saying? So that's one reason why they don't put as much cut on the history of Egypt as they do other original civilizations, that the original man built. You see what I'm saying? Because they ease themselves into the history right there. Alfonso Brown, what was the first part of what you said there? You said, or did they preserve the best part of our knowledge for themselves after stealing from the original man? I mean, of course that's what they did. That's what their job is to do. God Cipher Divine said, God, I learned from a church brother. He said that churches are founded by the government and they censor what the modern day church preaches to the masses. It's all a form of control. Well, yeah, the beginning of the formation of what we know as Christianity right now is from Constantine, who was the what was his title? The Emperor of Rome, I guess. Yeah, Born King said, then came Diop and shut it down at the UNESCO conference. Yeah, precisely. You see what I'm saying? Somebody who, actually uh, had the knowledge and knew where to look for the answers. You know what I'm saying? He came to, he renewed certain history that was being obliterated. See, a lot of that science, you gotta remember that, uh, you know, everybody that came, right, and conquered Egypt, right, is waves and waves of people. And so, a lot of the history of the original man being there, like, let's say, for instance, right now, you know, you got the Arabs there, right? See, the science of those pyramids is not their history. So they want to destroy that stuff because they want their history to be the true history. You understand what I'm saying? So in order to do that, they got to destroy, or at least vilify whatever history was there before. But yeah, Sheikh Anta Diop and Ivan Van Sertima. That's, like I said, that's why I like those two as authors, because, that's their main thing. The theme of a lot of their books is that, everything got its origin with the original man. And the original man is the origin of everything. You know what I'm saying? But, like Supreme Man, and the other brother was saying, those two brothers, they bring a lot of history back that, is has been kept away from us in order for us to be oppressed. You know what I'm saying? See, like I keep telling brothers, that's the whole power of the 10%. Like, they don't have a particular power. Like, yo, they strong in this way or they strong in that way. Their only strength is our lack of knowledge of self and what's going on around us. You know what I mean? Our lack of, renewing the history and knowing what happened. Like when you're dealing with the degrees, it's telling you about different times in history and different people in different ways when the original man and the devil, God and the devil mixed together on the planet Earth. It's telling you different times. You know what I'm saying? Like, in the 9th degree, right, that's a different time period than the 10th degree. You know what I mean? What happened, how things transpired is different. That's a different time than in the 4th degree in the 1 and 14. It's a different time, different things transpired. You see what I'm saying? And, in a lot of those times, the lesson wasn't learned. You know what I'm saying? Like, for instance, right now, the brothers in Africa is welcoming, other people in. They welcoming the Chinese in now. You know what I'm saying? But they welcome them. They're welcoming them in kind of the same oppressive relationship that they had with the Europeans. It's like they didn't learn the lesson. Alfonso Brown said they cannot rid the entire knowledge of our history because our science is the foundation that advanced their civilization. Yeah, of course not. You can't have existence without the atom. You know what I mean? But like I said, the history is always going to be recorded. It's always going to be known. But it's just a matter of, will it be revealed or will it be concealed? Because if it's concealed, then that's what allows the 10% to do what they do. Born King said, I went over there last year, and one can tell the Arabs don't hold the pyramids and temples sacred. Yeah, they don't. Because that's not their history. Born King said the Chinese is heavy in Sierra Leone right now, straight colonizing. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? But see, I'm going to tell you something. That's a funny thing about oppression. Is that, sometimes oppression gets so bad, right, that a person will welcome another oppressor. Like that's happened. Like that's one of the things that happened in Egypt. Is Egypt, a lot of people that they say conquered Egypt didn't really fight them. It was that, like, for instance, when Islam came in Egypt, they didn't really fight them because the Muslims told them, look, we're gonna get the Christians off your back. You know what I'm saying? And so, back then when empires was taking you over, they make you pay a certain tax. You gotta pay certain money to the, seat of the empire. So when the Muslims came, they was telling everybody, look, we're gonna charge you less tax than the Christians. So that was one of the reasons that the empire grew so quick, is that a lot of people cooperated. And that happened a lot of times. Like, look, when the Greeks was there, they welcomed the Romans in. Cleopatra welcomed the Romans in. She welcomed Julius Caesar and Mark Antony in, according to the history that they tell. And that's a history that we repeat. Like, the Indians welcomed them in. You know what I'm saying? We just had Thanksgiving. That's what it's about. They welcomed them in. You know what I'm saying? When they came to Africa, what they did, they built trading posts, welcomed them in. Warren King said Moors did the same thing in Spain with the tax situation. But the Almoravids got their second though, didn't they? First it was the Umayyads, and then the Almoravids came in. But I know they was always a part of the force. They was the main force that conquered Spain. Alfonso Brown said integration of so-called African Americans. Welcome them in. I mean, I cannot disagree with you there. But that's the whole science, you know what I mean? Like, even when you read in the Bible, you know what I'm saying, and you deal with the science of Adam and Eve, you know what I mean? Welcome the snake in, you know what I'm saying? So it's letting you know what I'm saying, that, you gotta be sharp. God Cypher Devon said, do you hold the Moors accountable for the inception of slavery? I mean, what do you mean inception of slavery? I mean, they were in it before Europeans. They were in it before Europeans. but I wouldn't say they were the inception of it. Born King said the Phoenicians were before the Moors. I got a question, Born King. Aren't the Phoenicians from that same place? Like, what the Phoenician Empire, wasn't that a colony of Carthage or something like that? Or somehow those people came from North Africa who were the Phoenicians? That's a question. God Cipher Divine said, meaning what part did they play? The Moors, Timbuktu and, a couple of other cities is right at the bottom of the Sahara Desert. And, the Moors, they had skills with crossing the desert. So they have been crossing the desert to get the slaves and bring them back long before the Europeans had the sailing capability to even come to Africa. So, the Moors, they facilitated before the Portuguese started coming down to Africa. Alfonso Brown says, so it seems the original man is not learning the lessons all across the planet Earth. I mean, that's kind of what I'm saying. Is that, we got to look, for the solutions of whatever we doing. You know what I'm saying? And we got to look at what we getting into. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes we repeating that same mistake over and over. Now, God Cipher Divine said the term Phoenician is a misnomer, and Born King said the Phoenicians were from an area near Syria and Jordan. Right, but I'm saying, remember, the Middle East is, that being seen as a separate part of the planet is a European thing. I'm saying that those people who were in Syria and Jordan that were in that empire, they was people from Carthage. Because remember, the people from North Africa was running the Mediterranean at that time. So all of the colonies around the Mediterranean belonged to them. Sicily and all that stuff belonged to North Africa at that time. Alfonso Brown, you saying that the Phoenicians were Greek? I think the Phoenicians were before the Greeks. See, the Greeks had a lot of influence in Asia Minor through Alexander the Great. So there's a lot of things over there that show a lot of Greek influence. God Cipher Divine said the term Phoenician, what language is that? Yeah, I mean, I have heard that too, that the Phoenicians didn't exist. So Gilbert, peace. Oh, Greek was a response to God Cypher's Divine's question about the language. So Alfonso Brown, God Cipher Divine, is saying that Phoenician is a term in the Greek language, which is most things that we know from that time, we know about a Greek or the Roman name. So who are you saying? Who are you saying were the people that are being mistaken for Phoenicians, God Cipher Divine, or are you saying that the Phoenicians are a mythical group of people like Mount Olympus? Where you go? Where you go? God Cipher Divine. No, God Cipher Divine. He's not saying that the Phoenicians were Greek. He was saying that Phoenicians is what the Greeks called a group of people. So what we're asking you is, are you saying that the name is wrong or that the group of people never existed? So yeah, Alfonso Brown concerned what I said. He was saying that the terminology, just the name, is of Greek origin, but not the people. So, like I said, John Carter, peace. So like I said, are you saying that the term is just wrong, or are you saying that the people didn't exist? And if the term is wrong, then what is the proper term for those people? That's true. One can say Egypt is a misnomer. Yeah, Egypt. That's not the name they call it. That's some British thing, to my knowledge. That's some kind of British. Uh, what do they call it? It's like a Britishized version of the word. Like if the British can't pronounce a certain word or the name for something in a certain language, then they come up with a name that's easy to say in English. All right, Alfonso Brown said Greeks never had a language. So what did the original meaning mean? Okay, now you gotta you gotta show and prove this one. Greeks never had a language? Quizar Quaco Laban, what's going on? Exonym, a name that outsiders call natives. You know, I heard that word before, but that's the first time I knew the definition of it. Exonym, a name that outsiders call natives. So God Cipher Divine, that's pretty much what I'm saying. Is that Egypt, you know, Phoenicia, all of these different names, they're exonyms. Yeah, I mean, to John Carter said they had a whole alphabet. How did they not have a language? I mean, the letters that we got right now, those are the Greek symbols, to my knowledge. You know, the alpha, beta, kappa, delta, epsilon. You know, when you see those symbols in math class, you know, if you notice, they're all very similar. They're all very similar to the English alphabet. So John Carter hit something on the head there. The only thing we let them keep was their language. So God Cipher Divine is saying the group of people called the Phoenicians never existed. So now the things that they credit the Phoenicians with, right? Who are the actual people that accomplished that stuff? And how did they get written into history? This one, I told you I'm gonna get a phone. People can call in. God Cipher Divine, you type of person, you have your own phone. You generally got a definitely have some unorthodox points of view. The Ibiru, just like a person calling themselves Hebrew, that term goes back to the word Ibiru, and that was a white society, not original man. I mean, now I'm gonna tell you something. I'm not a linguist. I'm not a linguist, you know, but I mean, I've heard about this Ibiru people, and how they connected it to the word Hebrew. Uh, I mean, when you say these people never existed, I mean, right now in history, they're credited with doing certain things. So who are the people that really did that? Or are you saying that we need to raise our level of understanding, right? And see that these people don't represent, maybe real people, but civilization itself. John Carter. That's why I gotta have a mute button, John Carter. So I can shut somebody's mic off if I need to. The Scythians. Blayland Snotty, I've been waiting on you. Cause you asked a question. I wanted to see what you were saying. You asked the question. The Scythians. I'm not sure what their origin is, but those are some people that they was like in the area of Iran. They was part of what came of the Persian Empire. There was some people that used to fight with the Romans, but I don't know enough about their history to know what their origin is. Alfonso Brown said, don't represent real people but civilization itself, meaning that, is he saying that it's just a story of allegory that we hearing. You understand what I'm saying? So God Cipher Divine said Alpha equals Aleph in Hebrew, which is from the original man, not the grafted man. Bet, Gimel, Dalet, he, and so on and so forth. Yeah, John Carter said, we speak mathematics in the American dialect because in England they don't speak like this. That's funny because that's one thing I always say when people say I don't speak proper English. Yeah, what's the proper English? Like, if you speak in American English, don't tell me nothing about proper English unless you speak like the Queen of England. Not that people shouldn't speak proper English, but I have a hard time with it. God Cipher Devon said, who is writing history? Question the answers that we get. I mean, at this day and time right now, we talking about history that is, 3,000 years old. All we could do is take the lesson from what it is. You know what I'm saying? All of that stuff from back then is a lot of that stuff was lost. A lot of that history was lost. Remember, they did all these burning books, burning down libraries. But when you say question the answers that we get, question the answers that we get from who? Yeah, Blair and Snotty, you asked a question, something of the nature, something about like why don't we look at people that have knowledge of self but are not in our nation? Why don't we see them as God? Was that your question, or what you was trying to get to? John Carter said, not when you understand the Arab came after grafting. They didn't create the word of Allah. They got it from us. That's why it's one word. That's the same in all tongues. Indy Red, peace. Blair Snotty said, yes, in general, because I never hear the gods refer to anyone out of the nation as God. I mean, well, in the lessons, right, it already says that, look, we live 5% on this poor part of the planet Earth, right? And I'm just saying that, according to the way the teachings came to us, right? Fard didn't invent the knowledge. He was taught the knowledge by some people in the East. You understand what I'm saying? So clearly, those people, they know who they are. If they was able to send a message to us of who we are. So, we do recognize other people, for who they are. But right here, we in the wilderness of North America, I would have to ask you a question. Who else might we be referring to as God? Like, give me an example of somebody that you would be like, yo, this person right here, why don't y'all see that person as God? And see, there's another thing, too, you got to understand, is that, we a particular nation that, we have a name that might be able to be applied on a wide basis, but we're a particular people. You know what I mean? Like, I hear this concept where everybody feels like because this is North America and South America, right, that anybody should be able to come to the United States of America. And they say that the United States of America, it's like they want to claim the name America and say everybody else has to stay out. But see, there's a difference between the Americas as a landmass and the United States of America Corporation, U.S. Corp, or whatever. You understand what I'm saying? That's something different. Yeah, it's using that name, but we know and understand that there's a particular group of corporation, right? There's a particular corporation that has been using this name openly and notoriously for 200 odd years. You see what I'm saying? The same thing, look, let's say, you was somewhere and something was getting ready to happen to somebody, right? And you was like, yo, hold up. You jumped in, right? People say, yo, why you did that? And you say, yo, that's my cousin right there, man. Yo, that's blood, man. I can't let that, that's blood. I can't let that happen to him, right? Now, everybody's going to understand what you mean when you say that. They're going to understand, like, oh, he's saying that's his relative, that's his mother's brother's son or something, right? However, we still know that there's a group of people that have been living openly and notoriously as the Bloods for 50 years or so. You understand what I'm saying? So by the same token, yeah, it's a broad definition of who you could say is the 5%. There's a broad definition of people that if you want to say, they the guys on the pure definition of it. But there's a group of people that have been living openly and notoriously as the 5%, the gods, for 56 years. And what we're saying is, listen, you can be whoever you want to be, but there's only a certain set of people that's one of us. So it's not that we, denying people. I mean, we go out there and tell people that they be guys. That's how you become a 5%, because we go out and tell other people that they God. But, we maintain that, God got to be perpendicular to the square. You know what I mean? God got to be in motion. God got to be kinetic. See what I mean? Can't be a dormant or a dead planet. You see what I'm saying? They say they are sun, moon, and stars. They are planets. Who are you? If you are you the moon? Because if you the sun and the star, right, you got to be sparked up. Otherwise, you just a dead planet. You just a meteorite. You understand what I mean? And then maybe someday you will cause some friction with some other dead planets, and then a spark might happen then. But right now, you're just a dead planet. God Cipher Divine said, meaning question the answers we get from the devil. If the devil is weak and wicked, then why the hell would we believe his signs and information is anything more than him? See, the devil can't make stuff up. He can't. When you say science, that's a little bit different than history. The devil can't make stuff up. Like, it's not like gravity is an illusion that the devil is making up. You understand what I'm saying? Some things is universal law. We got to apply our mathematics. You understand what I mean? Some things, yeah, we got to live it out. Like, we know that, look, you might have went to school, right? And the Caucasian man showed you how to multiply. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to not use multiplication because the Caucasian man taught it to you. You see what I'm saying? Like, you can't cut off your nose to spite your face. You understand what I'm saying? It's like, and then, sometimes this thing gets crazy because, you don't want to be a person, right, who you want to deny the basic stuff that the devil is saying, but then you want to do Kabbalah and Illuminati and Masonry and all this other stuff. You know what I'm saying? Not saying that that's what you're doing, but I'm just saying that, listen, we got to use our common sense and see what works. And that don't just apply to what the devil is telling you. That applies to what I'm telling you. That if you do the knowledge of what I'm saying, you try to apply this stuff in your life and it don't work, then, you know, don't just take it, you know, on face value. That's with everything. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, when you look at the history, like I said, it's you know, if you saying that the people never existed, the people is fake, I'm just asking you also, you know, the things that they saying that they accomplished, the people that they said they was affiliated with, and how did they get written into history? You know what I'm saying? Golden Arm said, we understand God and Allah is God. John Carter said, I refer to all the babies as God. Sometimes they're going to have to tell them they are God for them to open their minds. And that's way before they are enrolled. That's not the same as saying the God. I mean, see, for me, you know, when you know, babies, because I see this a lot, you know what I mean, when brothers say, you know, brothers upset. I mean, not brothers, a couple people was upset saying that, yo, you know, they gave out T-shirts, you know, at Children's Day that had the flag on it. You know, how come, you know, kids that don't know 120 lessons, you know what I'm saying, how come they get to wear the flag? You know, because they understand it. They get to wear the flag, right? Because the same way that if a kid, if their parents is poor, they're going to be poor. If their parents is on drugs, then they're going to be living a life where it's drugs. See, I use that as an example to say it works positive or negative. Understanding is going to be on the strength of the knowledge and wisdom that he's with. So if he's with somebody who got the knowledge and wisdom to bring him to the rally, then yeah, we're going to give him a shirt with a flag on it. You understand what I'm saying? Just the same way, if he's with somebody, right, that take him around somebody negative, they're going to leave him with that negative mark. John Carter said people got to get rid of the idea that the devil deals in separation. He don't have the power to separate. He can't go past 6. Yeah, you know, you can't. You know, it's only but so much that the devil can, you know, invent. You know, in fact, he can't really invent anything. You know what I'm saying? If anybody's familiar with the story of Yaqub, you see that, you know, Yaqub, he tried a lot of other different ways to invent the devil, and it didn't work out. So he realized that the only way to do it had to start from the original man. You understand what I'm saying? That's still the science that he's using. Yeah, he's reversed it. He reverses all the signs, but he can't just make it up. Now, Alfonso Brown said the devil still teaches and applies the original man's signs to maintain a civilization. God Cipher Divine said the white man deals in a base 10 number system. Our ancient ancestors dealt in a base 20 number system. So how can we adhere to his knowledge of mathematics if I was so much more advanced? No. All the mathematics come from one. What you're talking about is different ways of calculating. Now look, maybe one day we'll get to that level of advancement. But if you ever paid attention to the civilization class, you will see that the people is some people is not even ready for base 10 yet. So base 20, I really don't know that much about it. I'm not saying it don't exist, but I'm saying let's master this one. And for the record, those numbers come from the original man. The base 10 system is found in the pyramids, first of all, but those are Hindu numbers. And we discussed how the Indians came from the original people. The brother Infinite Mind, who is he got a degree in African Studies, he showed us to a book called The Anacalypse, and it has that information in it by an author named Higgins. So you're wrong about the white man deals in a base 10 number system. The white man had a Roman numeral system and was introduced to the base 10 number system by the original man. Blayland Snotty said, I understand what you're expressing. For clarity, I have never witnessed any God said peace God or even referred to another black man as God in general conversation. It's only used by, if we talking to 85% or 10%, why would we be calling them God? Like if you just looking at God as just a noun, you know what I'm saying? We just saying that, look, no matter what a person does, that they're God. God is about the actions. You understand what I'm saying? Like, in any definition of God, right, of any people, they always describe him by what he do. What he's the God of. He always got some action that he take. You can't just be a rock. Now you start getting to that level where the rock has God in it. The rock, for it to exist, Allah is all. Everything is Allah. But no, we manifest this to the highest level. That's what it means to be the supreme being. You understand what I'm saying? You got dolphins that can hear better than us. They not supreme over us. They can't master us. But you could be dumb enough to let a dolphin master you. And then you ain't showing and proving that you got. So we not going to call you that. John Carter said it's their flag. They're supposed to have their flag on everything they got. You got to be able to create to separate. And the devil don't have that power. Yeah, John Carter has some questions about your base 20 number system as well. God Cipher Divine. Golden Arms, you said far taught out of what book also? God Cipher Divine said we get caught up in the Pythagorean way of calculating our mathematics. Born you truth, his math is extremely inferior to the original man's mathematics. What are we really saying? You do know Pythagoras got his mathematics from Egypt, right? that was his story. Like, I mean, that's what Pythagoras said. Like, we we not we not making that up. You know, the way it may have went on to be applied may have been embellishment, but he got that from the original people. Like, maybe this is where the disconnect is. Maybe you don't realize, how much and in which ways we've given them knowledge over the years. Like, all these different interactions, what I was telling you about, right, between the original man and the Caucasian has usually resulted in leaps and bounds in Caucasian civilization. Like, when the Greeks came amongst the Egypt, you see leaps and bounds. When the Greeks come amongst the Egyptians, during the Crusades, when the Europeans come amongst the Muslims, you know what I mean? They make leaps and bounds all of a sudden. You know what I'm saying? And then also when you see when Napoleon goes to Egypt, right, in the early 1800s, and then that's when they find the Rosetta Stone. And then once they decipher the Rosetta Stone, you see them making leaps and bounds. All of a sudden they got the Industrial Revolution, light bulbs, record players, cars, all these different things. So every time they have contact with the original man, they make leaps and bounds in what they doing. And, they do so much of it, and being that we within this society, we might think that they invented it. But even right here in America, there's things that they take claim for that really was made by the original man. I think you're mistaken when you say that, these things is the devil's science. They're not. They're not at all. Yeah, see, Golden Arms, he said, he's God, but he must learn to be that. God is a noun and a verb in our sense. So Blair and Snotty said, my original question, I spoke about the person having knowledge of self, self-sufficient, self-employed. Yeah, but see, that's not the supreme and proper knowledge of the black man being God. You see what I'm saying? You can't qualify somebody based on something that the devil could do. Like, the devil could be self-sufficient and self-employed. I'm still not going to call him God. Manola Music and Films, peace. Not knowledge of self as in lessons, but knowledge of who he is as a person and a man. I mean, that's definitely knowledge, but when we say that the black man is God, you understand what I mean? That is a level of supreme knowledge, meaning that, look, a person could know who they are as a person and a man, right, and be in the church. But they may know that as a person, there's a lot of people in the church that know who they are. Like, especially if you go in the church right now, just because of the time that we in, a lot of people in the church, they should smoke crack. And they know about their strengths and their weaknesses and all of that. And they self-sufficient, they doing their thing, but they are in the church. You understand what I'm saying? Saying that they have to accept their higher power because they powerless to help themselves. So this is what I'm saying. It's a very specific set of things that I'm talking about when I say you God. You understand what I'm saying? See, I can't take your birthright from you, but you got to claim it. You got to claim it or it'll sit right there. There's people that happen all the time. All the time. There's people that ain't claim their birthright and somebody else is sitting on it. Okay, God Cipher Divine said the number system that was introduced was based on the angels of each symbol. The symbol of one has one right angle. The number 2 has 2 right angles. And okay, God Cipher Divine, you gotta stop. I gotta stop you. This is just not true. This is just not true. You gotta stop, God Cipher Divine. The numbers. Listen. Oh, my bad. You didn't say it was based on the number of angels. You said based on the number of angles in each symbol. See, do you know what an angle is? Like, you can't jumble up all these mathematical concepts. And see, I'm going to tell you what it is when you deal with mathematics. While mathematics is a true science. Remember, anytime you deal with mathematics, right, you can always go back and check your work. And when you go back and check your work, right, what happens? It's always supposed to complete the cipher. Meaning if you started with 1, right, and you said, 1 plus 1 is 2, right? So how you supposed to check your work? Okay, subtract 1 from 2, which you get 1, back to where you started. See, so this thing what you're saying about mathematics, it needs to be able to be shown and proven like that. And right now, I can't think of how you might do that. Alfonso Brown said the devil's civilization is completely built upon the foundational science and knowledge of the original man. They continue to study and unearth additional knowledge of ours to this day. They don't know when it starts or when it ends. God Cipher Divine said Indians had nothing to do with that. Every variation of the number system that we use is based off of the right angles. Now let me ask you a question. How did they measure the right angles before they had numbers? The stuff you're saying, variation of the number system that we use is based off of right angles? Where is this information verified? Not saying that you couldn't just be right on your own, but where could I find this type of information? John Carter said, you do understand that supreme mathematics shows you how to take these numerals out of just the numerical equations and correlate it to ideas. Precisely. Born King said, we taught the devil and gave them the knowledge and science. Now, God Cipher Divine said, I'm God by nature. Now, listen. What does that mean? That nature makes you God? See, because nature is supreme mathematics. That's the nature of all things. That's the natural order. You understand what I'm saying? So, just like this is another thing that goes to what you were saying, Blair and Snotty, is that if you're not going according to mathematics, right, then how are you just God? You got to be making motion, making things flow. How are you the the entity that caused the earth to spin, and what nature? I know you're not talking about Mother Nature. See, what I say is that your nature is to be God. You understand what I'm saying? Just like I said, if you have a wooden chair, that wooden chair's nature is to be a tree. And then a person who's a craftsman can use the characteristics and properties of that tree, right, to make a chair. And then according to the mathematics, like when a person builds something, they use mathematics. They using, like you said, right angles. They measuring, making sure the legs are straight. So now, according to that mathematics that they built that chair, now that's the nature of what it is that they built out of what by nature is a tree. So when you other than your own self, right, and you say you God by nature, and you're not doing what's natural to you because you're other than your own self, Alfonso Brown said, I know the lessons say, why did God make devil? Why would God teach devil? I mean, for the same reason. You know what I'm saying? You know, well, hold on. Maybe I'm mistaken what you're saying, because what the first thing that I thought was Yakub is the one that taught them to do this devilishment. But are you saying that the different original people that they came in tune with, why would they teach them? Because that's their nature. That's just the quality of their nature. You understand what I'm saying? And you know, none of them judged that level of negativity for what it was. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know how you have dealings with somebody and you expect them to deal with you the way you deal with people. Oh, see, Born King already said it. I went through all that. Born King already said it. Because the 5% teach freedom, justice, and equality to all the human families of the planet Earth. You know, like I said, that's our nature. That's what we do. Oh, man. John Carter done brought the smoke now. You ain't one of them black women is God dudes, are you? And John Carter said the devil sits and watches us since he been here. He gonna learn something. Yeah, you know, he's been, you know, that was a part of the mission that Alexander the Great went on. You know, Aristotle, you know, in between Aristotle and his pops, they pretty much planted the seed in him that, you know, he needed to go out there and conquer whatever sciences, whatever benefits that he could bring back to Greece so that they could dominate. That's what he was sent out to do. Because if you notice, he hit all the, why you ain't go that way? Why you went towards India? Why you ain't go towards Europe? You know what I'm saying? He hit all the juicy spots. Pierre Taylor say 23 scientists write time, so history is already told. I disagree with you. See, writing time is controlling, the outcome of events by applying knowledge and wisdom. That's when you write your history. See, we write our history. It says predict history. It didn't say we record history. You know what I mean? When we write our history, we not talking about recording stuff that already happened or stuff that's going to happen. It's no telling that any of us was going to be on this tonight. We chose ourselves for that.
Thank you.
God Cipher Divine says the Hindu Aramaic system of decimal number notation, the value of number symbol is equivalent to the number of that symbol. 1 angle, 2 angle, 3 angles in the 7 on our flag. Okay, so now are we talking about block numbers, block symbols? Or are we talking about, the stick symbols? Which ones are you talking about here? Because this is where are you getting this from? Like, if this is your science, you got to break it down, because a 1 is a line. Where's these angles come from that you're talking about in 1, and then where the angles in 0? I just, unless we talking about block letters from the jump. He said, how many points on the 7 on our flag? Got 7 points, but not 7 angles. Quizar Quaco said, the greatest teaching method is by example, even when the words spoken are true. If no one is listening, then no one absorbs or learns. When the actions are righteous, then the actions shall improve. Yeah, God Cipher Divine. The flag got 7. The 7 got 7 points on the flag. Blaine and Snotty said, if the 23 scientists write history, then every life is preordained and predestined, so that would make life pointless. Right? Because see, what I'm saying is this, that even in a sense what I'm saying, right, when you deal with the 23 scientists as the 23 chromosomes, right, it's still, the 23 chromosomes still got to go through an environment. You understand what I'm saying? Meaning that, look, you could have the genes that you were supposed to be 7 foot, 280 pounds. But if you don't get the proper amount of nutrition before a certain age, it's going to stunt that information that's written in your DNA. You understand what I mean? So that's why I said no matter what the history is written, it still got to be lived out. You understand what I'm saying? "23 scientists write time, so history is already told." Didn't Farrakhan say that? I mean, I don't know. I'm not all that familiar with what Farrakhan says, but I'm telling you that no, history is not written. Look, and I can't speak for him. He speaks for himself, but, I could just tell you that, look, what we learned from Elijah, right? The knowledge and wisdom that we got from Elijah, we not applying it in the way that Farrakhan is applying. You understand what I'm saying? You know, so, was all that written? You know what I'm saying? Like, when people do what you don't want them to do, is that still written? Yeah, that's a little bit when you start talking about stuff is because if stuff is preordained, then what am I doing right now? What am I doing? If we already know how this is coming out, why don't we just skip to the end and let me get this pot of gold, man? And then who's the people, like if you saying it's already written, who wrote it then? Like I'm saying, I don't bear witness that it's nobody like that. That, you wrote down the whole thing for everybody. Pierre Taylor said, history is lived by the lives now already written by the time writers of history, i.e. the 23 scientists. History is lived by the lives now already written by the time writers of history, i.e. the 23 scientists. See, writing your history, man, is applying knowledge and wisdom to your actions, man. That's what writing your history is, man. Like, see, look, even when you deal with basing your history on the earth, right? They got to deal with dealing with your family. You understand what I'm saying? Like when you base your history, you spending time. Your history is actually time. You understand what I'm saying? So you maintain with the guys. You like, yo, I got to go do something with the family. You understand what I'm saying? But that's something that you are totally in power of. You know what I'm saying? The 23 scientists, there's no group of 23 people that's more powerful than me, man. I'm telling you. If you think it is, go get them. He said the 23 scientists seen a bright light and stopped writing history in advance. Yeah, see. Alright, look. I used to be Christian. I ain't going back. Golden Arm said, I don't come in the name of Farrakhan, but he don't teach that. Yeah, I would, like I said, I didn't hear him say that. I would, hope not. Yeah, yeah. How can I write my own history when I'm in the here and now? All right, now this is pretty basic, man. Your future is based on what you do right now. And your future, we dealing with time. Your future is going to end up being your past. Like when you got that diploma in high school, right? That was the past. But when you was in first grade, second grade, third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, you was writing that history. That's an easy one. How they say that the present is the past. It's the sum of the past. The future is the sum of the present. You know what I'm saying? And then, the future is going what? Is going to repeat. Time is going to repeat back to the past. You understand what I'm saying? You writing that history right now. You know, how many people, you know, when Reggie Jackson pointed that bat and then hit that home run right there, he wrote that history when he went there and did that. You see what I'm saying? So like, even when you deal with the science of Yakub, you know, he didn't make a devil. The devil ain't come to the 33rd degree. But see, all that stuff he was doing from the 21st degree is still what? A part of the history of making the devil. You gotta remember, man, T.I. wouldn't be nothing without me. Time in and of itself is an illusion. See what I'm saying? Like right now, see, I'm building with y'all. Y'all asking me questions, but look, if I was just, you know, sitting there, you know, waiting for my clothes to dry, then the way that time passed would be different. You understand what I'm saying? It would seem longer because, you know, it's in the mind. God Cipher Divine said, what does 23 symbolize? Yeah, born king. See, he was saying that, you know, he was explaining to his children that your future is based on what you're doing now. You could write your history in advance. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. You know, how you apply it to the babies, you know what I mean? And then they also based on history. Now I don't, you know, born king, I don't know particularly, you know, all the, you know, but sometimes, you know, going back to what we were saying from the beginning of renewing history. You know what I'm saying? That, you know, now you might not have did well in school. You know what I'm saying? You might have dropped out of something, and then you went through certain trials and tribulations. Then your seeds could see that and renew that and say, all right, I see that's what happened to you. I'm going to do the right thing. And like you said, write my history in advance. I'm going to start right now because I know where it's going to take me. You see what I mean? That's applying knowledge and not just getting caught up in the cycle of every year you going in there and you just hanging with your same friends that you've been hanging with since the first grade, and then y'all flunk out together. Born in law, peace. R.P. Reese, peace. God Cipher Divine. I don't know who is, you know, you have like a whole alternate history where you're saying that numbers come from angles. Who are the persons that measured these angles? And you still, I just want to know, you know, if one is just a line, then where's the angle? Yeah, but you still got to explain that stuff you saying, God Cipher Divine. You can't, don't be telling people, man, that numbers come from angles, man. Yeah, born king, mind detect mind. Yeah, Quaco says, Spooky says, the past is history, the future is a mystery. That's why now is called the present, because this is a gift. As the God said, what we do now determines what tomorrow will be, no mystery. Yeah. And when we look back, you know what I'm saying? You know, if you the mystery God, you're not going to see that stuff that happened to you was your fault. You're not going to see that. You're going to be thinking, oh, we was cursed by Ham. Whatever. Born Allah said renewing your history could also be that you didn't do well in school as a youth, so you dropped out, and as an adult you went back, you have renewed your history. Word is born. When you went back and now you did it the right way. You didn't you got the best part from it. You didn't go back and repeat the same mistakes that you did. People that repeat the same mistakes rarely come out well. Yeah. Born law is right and exact. When he said the now is the only time that exists. Past is gone, future isn't here yet. All we have is now. You see what I'm saying? The time is now. You understand what I'm saying? All of whether it's the past, whether it's the future, we could only we right here, right now, we on the square. Even if you have a memory, you remembering it right now. Like when you say, yo, that happened 10 years ago, that's because you remembering it from right now. And the only thing that happened, the only thing that's going to happen is what we do right now. All those times, whether it's the past or the future, one thing you got in common is that at one time, at some point in the linear progression of events, that was right now. Peace, Golden Arms. Yeah, born King, 14th degree in our supreme alphabet. But yeah, you gotta go, man. God Cypher Divine, you need to get your books out. Wherever you got that stuff about the numbers, man, and break that down for me. Cause yeah, you come meet me, you still gonna have to show and prove what you're saying. How many angles does zero have in it? Yeah, that's what I said, Alfonso Brown. Like how you measured the angles and how you knew how many angles it was before you had numbers. Like, you gotta remember that geometry, right, is just a visual representation of supreme mathematics. Like when they give you those problems and then they tell you, okay, plot these points on the graph, and then you draw a shape, right, out of the points that you made. The parabolas and the right angles and all this type of stuff. That's a visual representation, right, of mathematical laws. That's what geometry is. So they hand in hand. How one could exist without the other is, I don't know how you're gonna do that. Your ways and actions are just you moving through the time that's already been written and will take place whether we move on our knowledge and wisdom or not. Pierre Taylor. This is what I'm saying. Now, how does that apply to taking a bath? Like if your ways and actions are just you moving through time that's already been written, And whether you move on that knowledge and wisdom or not, it's going to take place, right? So you saying that if somebody don't take a bath, that eventually they're going to be clean anyway, because it's already been written. I mean, I don't know that type of stuff to be true, man. That's those things are not the case, man. Like, you know how many, people walked into a situation where it was like, yo, they had all the tools, like it was already in the cards, like, yo, this person was going to accomplish this thing. And then they was a bust, man. They was a flop. You gotta live it out, man. No matter what it is, man, you gotta live it out. Stuff ain't gonna just happen by osmosis. It's not gonna happen. Pierre Taylor, you 5%? Okay, Pierre Taylor, this is not true. You said that if you choose not to get up and take a bath, the environment around will still maneuver as if you took a bath. Now, I don't know if you ever been around somebody that hasn't taken a bath for an extreme period of time, but you don't maneuver around that person the same way. If they took it's almost impossible. God Cypher Divine said, if light travels at 186,000 miles per second and sound travels at 1,120 feet per second, meaning light or things we see travels faster than things we hear, actions speak louder than words. Okay. I'm not sure how that relates to I'm not sure how that relates to the numbers though, but I can agree with that. No, I'm not saying you a dummy. We all listen. Like I told you, this ain't no mysterious science. This is years, months, and days of studying and just being observant. You know what I'm saying, and just being a curious person. You know what I mean. Even from an 85, I always sought knowledge. You know what I'm saying? And so, when you manifest something like that, I haven't said you was wrong yet. But am saying you have to show and prove this stuff, man. John Carter said he missed when I was dealing with holy versus righteous. I would have to go back and see the video to see what, because a lot of these times what happens is it's something in the comments or something I experienced that sparks these titles. But and generally just saying that we not holy. You know what I'm saying? We righteous. You see what I'm saying? See, holy, that's something that you chasing. If you a person, you see what I'm saying? Because see, once you eat food, you're not holy no more. You understand what I'm saying? It's like a new pair of sneakers. Once you put them on, they're not new no more. But you can still keep them right. Not saying that we just sneakers, but just saying that, we deal with positive elevation, always correct errors. And we righteous people, even in my teaching, I'm not a holy man, and I'm not teaching a holy science. That's why everything where, if I say something, I always tell brothers, yo, look, you gotta look that up for yourself. You know what I'm saying? I mean, first of all, because like I said, I'm not holy, and then, first of all, to make that your knowledge, so that you're not walking around saying, yo, I heard Darkim say this, or yo, Darkim says this on his podcast, so you could just say that, and you ain't even got to put me in it. Say you said it. And second of all, because I'm not a holy man. This is not a, you don't come here, where, you get the sermon or whatever, and then you go back and you do your sins. You understand what I'm saying? Now, Pierre Taylor said, not saying you wouldn't react to him not taking a bath. Exactly. So that means that everything is not going to proceed as if he took a bath. You know what I'm saying? I mean, look, that's a simple situation, but this is what I'm saying. Let's go to the most serious situation it could be. Yo, if you don't be a parent to your child, right? The child is not going to just get parented. Not the way you would or are supposed to do. That just doesn't work out in life. And if you're saying that, well, if the kid don't get taken care of, that was just written for them not to get taken care of, I'm saying that's some other teaching. That's not our teachings. Quizar Quaco says, thought revolves around knowledge. Knowing is the foundation. Belief is the fabrication. But you have to understand, Pierre Taylor, that the black man is in control of all this right here, man. Like, we actually, things is not happening according to a script. Things is happening according to the reality that the black man is creating. You understand what I mean? Through his ideas. and through his actions. That's the written of the history, man. The ideas. And then you live them out. That's what makes it history. That's what makes the word flesh. But you gotta live it out, man. Like this is what I'm saying. You know, in Egypt, right? We was talking about Egypt earlier, right? When they stopped living out, they sound like, in Egypt, I'm not 100%, but they got different kingdoms, different dynasties, and in different kingdoms and different dynasties, they wasn't living out the knowledge and wisdom as it was since they nation was founded. They start straying away. You see what I'm saying? And when they strayed away, then they wasn't Egypt no more. They couldn't just be Egypt because it was written. They had to live it out. What makes it history is that you live it out. A lot of people say a lot of things. A lot of people predict a lot of things. But until somebody live it out, it's not history. You understand what I'm saying? Are you living out what you want to live out, your determined idea, or you just caught in a cycle? Now, you could be caught in the cycle of other people, or you could be caught in the cycle of the idea of different ideas. One of those ideas being religion. But I'm not, if I mean, listen, there's some people that, how do you tell this person not to commit suicide? Like, how do you tell a person, look, it's written that you're going to just suffer for the rest of your life? Why is this person, what are they doing? And how do you, when as you go through your teachings, how do you do that? All right, listen. Wait, stop. God Cipher Divine said, if it takes like 8 minutes for the light from the sun to reach the earth, it's actually 8 minutes and 20 seconds, but let's not nitpick. I can draw that up. My daughter would be equivalent to the earth because she received the knowledge or light quicker than Mars, which would be my son, who gets the light at a slower rate. Math is universal. All right, now, your son should not be Mars. Your son is supposed to be the star. Let's just correct that basic math right there. Now, I can agree with you that that's what happens. See, just like right now, I'm talking to you and I'm telling you about numbers. See, you might be you in outer space somewhere right now with that stuff that you're saying. That's why it's taking the light and what I'm telling you longer than 8 minutes and 20 seconds to get to you. But eventually, you're gonna understand that these kind of, you conflating a lot of different things. Like, I know all things is vibrating on a certain level, right? And that the numbers, also correlate with all that. But you're taking it too far. When you talk about, even we talking about cycles. Cycles is a vibration. You know what I mean? When things vibrate, they vibrate at a rate. And that rate is a cycle. cipher is my solar system. I can show and prove my wisdom, my understanding, all born to mathematics. Yeah, your cipher is your solar system, but your sun should not be a planet, though, man. Not that kind of planet. Wait, you can't say a slower rate. It's still the same speed. Am I getting on you based on your understanding of the top 5 rappers? I mean, if you basing your top 5 rappers on how many angles, how many right angles is in a 5, then I'd be getting on you based on that. But I mean, your top 5 rappers is decent. I like, I didn't have anybody in there that I thought was whack. But you gotta. Oh, I see. God Savvy Divine, you right. The rate, I misspoke right there. God Savvy Divine said you can't say a slower rate. It's still the same speed, just at a different time. Oh no, I'm not the one that said that. You said that, God Savvy Divine. You said because she would receive the knowledge of light quicker than Mars, which would be your sun, who gets the light at a slower rate. Yeah, the light is still traveling at 186,000 miles per second. And it's just taking longer because Mars is further away. Yeah, I didn't catch that, John Carter. That's peace. That he pointed out that, yeah, that you didn't say that part right either. Just got a longer distance for the light to travel to get to you. You, I'm about to check out. I'm gonna listen. God Cypher Divine, you sleep on that. Yeah, that's it. See, that's what happened. God Cypher Divine. You see, sometimes, you know, with anything, you know, too much too much water causes damage. If it rains too much, then you get floods and landslides and all that type of thing. So sometimes you gotta take a little bit of wisdom, absorb it. See, that could be my fault. I could be on here talking too long. See, we be having lively conversation. We be building. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, digest that and look, study whatever you gotta study for when I see you tomorrow, or when we come on here tomorrow, you able to tell me where you got this stuff about with the angles. Because I need to look that up myself. But peace to all the guys in the earths that was in here with me today. You know what I mean? Peace once again. You know what I mean? This was great building. Manifesting some knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. And tomorrow, I guess the first thing I'll be posting again is the answer to today's question. Quizar Quaco said, based on his theory of history being written, so he believes that it is written for him to be in this chat to have his theory of history being written. Man, y'all some funny brothers, man. That's I like y'all, man. But yo, tomorrow, peace.